to analyze Novak Djokovic's American English. We're going to grade his
placement.
Not sure what American English placement is? You need to watch these videos first. But we're going to take a look at 6 sentences and score them on a 4-point scale. You can see the scale here, and again, this all relates to placement, whether it's high in 2/10 or low and relaxed with lots of air through the throat. He'll need to score a 17 out of 24 to get a passing grade. Do you think he can do it? Let's start with number 1.
Hi, I'm Novak Djokovic and I'm doing a Wired Autocomplete interview.
Auto
Interview.
Compare the differences between mine and his. Those sounds could have been a little bit lower in the throat with a lot more air coming through. Again, auto interview. Consider this. If you have a higher placement on that ah sound, it can turn almost into like an ow sound. Ow, like the sound you make when you hurt yourself. For interview, the issue actually could be several things, because I'm hearing like inner. Firstly, it could be that the middle of your tongue is a little bit too high and that your mouth is maybe a little bit too close. So you want to open up a little bit more to create more distance. It could also just be that the placement's just too high. Or it may not actually even be an issue with the vowel sound, but the N sound. Can you hear a difference between N and N? You want to make sure, again, that it's usually going to be more N. You can have the best vowel sounds in the world, but the reality is that if you make the consonant sound after a vowel too tense or too high, it's going to make the whole word sound that way. Now we know that Djokovic can go lower with his placement and get more breath through, because listen to how he says this.
Hi.
That's great. In fact, my advice is to try to get more air through vowel sounds and consonant sounds, just like what happened there. In general, though, I think that there are more tense sounds than relaxed sounds in this first example, so I would score this a 2.
Usually with a racket in my hands.
Usually with a racket in my hand. The difference, again, mine is just getting a little bit lower and allowing more air to come through. Sorry, Novak. It's clearly said, but in terms of sounding natural, I'm thinking a 2.
I think sliding helps the change of direction.
2 parts here. I'm going to read the first half with a lower placement with more air. Pay special attention to how I say sliding and helps, and how Djokovic does it.
I think sliding helps.
And again, just those words. Sliding helps. Help is an especially tricky word for a lot of American English learners. It has a dark L sound. So keep the front of your tongue down and raise the back of your tongue a little higher, and also open your mouth a little bit wider. And of course, placement will be low and relaxed. Again, helps. Let's take a look now at the second half.
The change of direction.
For change, I think that A sound is pretty high. I'm hearing A as opposed to A.
Change.
Also, while you can hear
direction
at times, it's much more common to start that with a D sound in American English with the schwa, direction, because that first syllable just isn't stressed.
Direction.
For those reasons, I would rate this sentence a 2. And if you want feedback on your own placement, we can check your pronunciation every single day in our Telegram group. Go to patreon.com/fluentamerican to join.
73, 74, something like that.
Numbers. Chances are, if you learned English, there are a few that are being mispronounced. You can find more information on that here. But I really like how he's saying 74. Listen to this.
74.
That R sound at the end is great. There's so much air, there's so much breath coming through, and that R tends to be such a tricky sound. So when I hear 73, I'm a little bit disappointed because the throat is not letting that same amount of air through. Compare 73. Do you hear that E sound that he has? It makes my skull vibrate if I repeat it. E. And if you feel that vibration up here in your mouth, jaw, skull area, that means it's not quite right. You want to keep it low, lots of resonance in the throat. E.
73.
I'll give Novak some slack and score this a 3. That 74 is really nice.
We saw each other in one of the local tournaments in Belgrade.
Hear how he says one of the. That's some great airflow there. I really like how he's doing that. Even how he says each here is pretty good. And we've seen in the past some of his long I sounds can be a little tense. The words that are holding this sentence back from a perfect score are saw, and local. For local, it's that dark L at the end again. It shouldn't sound like oh. It's more oh. Keep that front of your tongue down more. So the score I would have to give for this sentence is, I'd say, around a 3. Here is our last American English placement sentence.
Before that, she was my high school crush.
Wow, I think this sounds pretty natural, except for one word. Let me play it again, and you can guess which one.
Before that, she was my high school crush.
Crush. You want this to have more of a schwa sound, but instead I'm hearing more of like an ah sound, like crush.
Crush.
Close to perfect, but going to have to say a 3 in this situation. All right, so does Novak Djokovic pass our American English placement test? Remember, he needs to get a 17, and his final score is... Do you disagree with me? Tell me your score in the comments, and you can study more about American English placement here.